Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another exciting design tutorial with UXMate. Today we are going to learn how to use variables in Figma and use them along with the components, right? So we are going to use variables and bind them with the components, and we are going to use them in the prototypes, so you can use variables to control your prototypes or to control your variants of the components. So let's jump into the tutorial and get started with it. Well, before that, you make sure you already subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon next to it, because if you're not doing that, you're going to miss a lot of exciting design content. Yes, so let's jump into the Figma and get started with it. First, we'd be creating the components, right? So I'll create a simple switch. I'll be creating a rectangle. I'll just duplicate this. I'll scale it a little bit down, something like this. Let's change the color to probably something like red, or because it is off state, and we'll make this a little bit darker. Select both of them, adjust the corner radius to give it a smooth, rounded edges to the switch. Select both of them, frame selection, and we'll give it name switch, switch. Okay. Now let's convert this into a component. Okay, and let me show you one more trick, guys. Let's say you have multiple frames, so let's create a off switch or the on switch as well, right? Just move it somewhere here. You may use the auto layout as well, but let's just do it quickly manually, just to make sure. Okay, so let's say this is our on switch, right? So what we can do is, we can select multiple frames together, right? And then we can create a component from multiple selections as well, right? So just what you have to do is you have to select the multiple frames and make sure you're using the you are creating a frame first and then duplicating it and then modifying the content within it, just to make sure your smart animate is working as expected. Though we are not going to use smart animate in this video, but yes, make sure when you are using this technique, make sure first you create all the required layers or the shapes which you want in your graphics, then convert it or make your selection into a frame and then duplicate it, so it will keep the same names for all of your layers within the frame, right? So now select both of them, right, and then click on this drop down icon next to the component icon, and click on create component set. So what it does, it basically create the component set with multiple variants. Now the variants, by default it has created both of the variants with the default property. Definitely we are going to change that. Let's keep it as it for now, because first we'll create the variable and then we will change it based upon the created variable, right? So let's create one more object just to make sure we are controlling something using these switches. So I'll just create a simple a simple rectangle, right? Let me first create a frame though. Just for the testing, let's use iPhone 14 Pro, and then just bring this. Okay, that's fine. So by default it is going to be off. Okay, and now I'll frame this, frame selection, I'll call it screen. Okay, I'll create a component out of it and then I'll add a variant. The same way, we are just creating a variant from the properties. First we are creating the component here and then we are adding the variants. In the earlier approach, what we did, we first created all the variants and then we converted, or we created a component set out of it. Both ways, it is the same way, just sometimes it is much easier to edit the frames without a component and then convert them into component. So as it is going to be a simple thing, just so I have created a component first and then creating variants for them. Now for this variant, we'll just make it on. So probably a a bluish kind of shade, or you can add an image as well in this, which will basically show your image instead of the color change. But let's keep it simple for the tutorial purpose, and you can play around with this. So what we have to do is, now we have to create the variable, right? So we are done with our components. Now we will create a variable which is going to which we are going to bind to the component, and then based on the variable our components are going to be functioning, right? So go to the local variable, create a variable. This time we are going to create a Boolean variable, because we are using a switch, and we will be aligning the switch based on the variable. So click on the Boolean, and make sure the name which you are giving to your variable is you need to make sure the same name which you are giving it to the properties as well, right? So I'll show you how to do that. So let's say as it is a switch, let's simply say ease on. Okay, you can give any name, ease on, let's say, and by default it is false. Okay. And we are good to close the variable panel. Now what we have to do is, we have to select the first variant, and we need to change the property name here, and instead of property, what we'll say is on. Okay, and as we have created a Boolean which is going to be a true or false, we have to assign the same values here as well. So as this is in off state, what we are going to say, we are going to say false. Okay, and this is our on, so is on is going to be true here. Okay, same way we are going to use the same name here as well. So we'll say is on, and we'll say false, and here we'll say true. Make sure guys you are following the same naming structure, because if you're not following the same structure, you are going to mess up with the variables, and those are not going to function as expected, right? So now thing is to bring the component or the components which we have created on our test frame, right? I guess it's a bigger switch. I'll just scale it down a little bit, a tiny switch. Okay, and then you can align it, and you can do all those fancy stuff. We don't have to do anything. Now the next thing is, we have to apply the variables to the components, right? So what we can do is, we can select the component, right? And you can see the variable is the Boolean property is already being applied here, but we have to apply the variable. So click on the assign variable, and then select is on. Now instead of that switch, we have is on a variable, right? So we are going to do it for this as well. So now for both of the components, though we have different variants, different components, we are using same variable to control the both of the components, right? Now let's quickly create a prototype. I don't know why Figma is acting up, but let's, no worries. Somehow my Figma is not working, the local instance of the Figma, so I'm recording this on the browser, and probably it might not be the compatible with the Safari. That might be the problem, but yeah. So now we are done with our base structure, but yes, we are missing one major thing, which the adding interactions part. So let's go back here, and let's quickly create the interactions, and we'll create the interactions within the component only. Okay, now again, like same way, we just have to create the interactions for the switches, because we don't have to change anything on click of the screen. We'll just on and off the screen based on the switch, right? So what we have to do, we have to do on click, and then we have to set variable, right? And which variable we are going to set? Is on, right? And what is going to be the expected value if it is already false, right? In this case, we are going to make it on, right? And in that case, it is true. Okay, and let's select the second thing, and then again create an interaction here as well. On click, and then we are going to use set variable, is on variable, and this time we are going to make it false, right? Now let's go to the prototype tab and test the prototype, right? So it is working as expected. When you are switching your when you are toggling your switch, it is changing the screen, right? You may make more fancy stuff using this. You can use this technique to create lock screens, or many more things. Maybe if you want to control the visibility, something similar to what Figma has in the layer panel, so you can create these kind of behaviors as well. Let's say if you have to create a layer panel for any of the application design, then you can use these techniques to reduce your lots of efforts, because you can do it using the same way without, let's say if we plan to do it without the variables. What you have to do is basically you have to create 2 frames, okay, and then you have to change the components, right? So in this case instead of ease on, probably I'll just remove that, and I'll remove this as well, and this would be off and this would be on here. And what you have to do is on click of this, instead of set variables, what you have to do is we have to create an interaction. Okay, so in this case we are doing the same thing, but we have to create multiple frames. And when we are creating multiple frames, that is definitely going to add stress on your memory, right? And plus you are wasting the efforts just creating the prototypes with the multiple frames, right? So it is going to give you let me just go here. It is going to give you the same behavior, right? Let's just see this. Okay, the same behavior just with the multiple frames, and the same which we did here using the variables in the ease, like with the ease, and in the minimalistic approach, right? So I hope guys you have enjoyed this video. Make sure you already subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon next to it, and make sure you hit the like button, because